Yeah, except that I think that people don't realize the fundamental shift that's occurred. The fundamental shift that almost every decision that I make is based on influence. Influence. You think about it. When I make a purchasing decision, I go and check what other people have said about it. If it has a great review, 5 stars, I do it. If it doesn't have a great review, 1 star, I don't buy it, I don't go there, I don't whatever. And you stop and think about that fundamental shift. We don't look to experts anymore. We look to what we perceive to be people we can trust. Corporations spend billions of dollars a year trying to figure out how they can build trust with us. Now, that's not a bad thing. That just means that they've understood that title doesn't mean anything anymore, authority doesn't mean anything anymore, position doesn't mean anything anymore. You know the only thing that matters? Whether I trust you or not. If I trust you, I'll let you speak into my life. If I don't trust you, you can't influence me. And if we want to get something done in a community, if we want to get something done with our employees or our organizations, if we don't understand the dynamic of trust that provides influence, then we won't get anything done. Last week we introduced a concept, a competency, agent of change. We said that the community builders understood that to get things done, they needed to be able to influence. They needed to understand influence, demonstrate influence, exert influence by building trusting relationships to get things done, to act as a catalyst for change. And we discussed some of the keys to that. We said that if you wanted to build influence, expand your sphere of influence, if you wanted to get things done through other people, that you would have to be vocationally competent. You'd have to be competent. And whether you were competent in a specific vocational task or you were competent in leading, whether you were competent in clearing the brush for those that followed you, figuratively speaking, or you were competent in a specific job, that you had to have some kind of value that you brought to the party. Otherwise, people wouldn't respect you. They wouldn't give you permission to lead them. Then we talked about communication, that you had, in today's day and age, a number of various communication styles. You had the fact-based communicator, the emotion-based communicator, the values-based communicator, the belief-based communicator. And unlike times of the past, in today's day and age, followers expect the leader to bend. In the past, the leader said, follow my communication style. But that's not the case anymore. And I gave you both an intangible and tangible exercise. The intangible exercise was that you were going to focus and listen, because listening was a lost art. That you were going to listen like people were going to die at midnight. In other words, you were going to give them your full attention, your full heart, your full soul. That you weren't going to worry about that electronic device on your hip or in your purse. You weren't going to worry about the next email or the next meeting. That you were going to focus. And you were going to try that for 7 days. And then I gave you a more tangible exercise. And that more tangible exercise was a survey. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Suggestions for my improvement. And if you could send me back to school, what class would you make me take? 3 simple questions that you would put on paper, that you would hand out to peers or those that supervise you or lead you, or those that you lead. That you would hand that out and you would ask them to return it to you anonymously. And you would do that because you were gaining feedback. But just, if not more importantly, you were trying to build trust with them, because you were going to take that feedback and act upon it, increasing their respect for you and developing greater trust with them. Then we talked about being outcome-based and impact-focused. This idea that we had to be able to communicate the impact of what we do. That we couldn't just talk about the warm and fuzzy of what we do. That we had to show redeeming value, the impact of what we do. Then we discussed that high emotional IQ and being relatable and likable. At the end of the day, if I want to get things done, I've got to be able to build my sphere of influence. I'm not going to get things done through authority today. I'm not going to get things done through intimidation or an autocratic leadership approach. Today, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're going to unpack a strategy to take this concept of building trust and deploy. Put it into play, put it into practice. It's a strategy that's based on a couple of truisms of the day that I observe. First, that people are inundated with information, just inundated with information. Thousands upon thousands of media impressions from television and radio and internet and emails and flyers and on and on and on. The amount of information that you have to process is overwhelming. So how do you penetrate that? How do you penetrate that with your activity? How do you penetrate that with your initiative? How do you penetrate that with your great idea? How do you penetrate the thousands upon thousands of media impressions that people are inundated with? How do you make your thing stand out? And then secondly, that people are desperate for, longing for, looking for something that they can put their time, talent, and treasure to that has meaning, that has purpose, and that is perceived to them to be valuable. See, I take those two truisms into consideration when saying the next comment. The number one way to build your sphere of influence is a relational strategy. A relational strategy. I call it 100 cups of coffee. I'm going to unpack that for you. Of how do we build trusting relationships with people of influence, not people of prominence. How do we do it in a very methodical and systematic way so that after a period of time we've increased our sphere of influence, we've built those trusting relationships necessary to get things done. If you can put that into your toolkit, if you can put that 100 cups of coffee strategy into your toolkit, I would suggest to you there's just about nothing you can't do. I don't know if that's a double negative. Because it's a powerful tool. We'll unpack it. 3 days, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. You can make things happen. You can get things done. Whether that's in your workplace, whether that's in your neighborhood, or whether that's in your community. Because for the first time in the history of mankind, it's not about title, it's not about authority. It's about your capacity to influence. Send out that survey. Think about your communication style. As we begin to unpack a strategy that when deployed, you will expand your sphere of influence. And it takes into consideration the thousands of media impressions and the fact that people are looking to connect with something of meaning and purpose.